Machen had served him 3 times before, always professional, always invisible. But when she overheard the pilots discussing ensuring Lao Ming doesn't make it to Miami, she had 30 seconds to decide: stay silent and keep her job, or slip a stranger a note that said 3 words, "Don't fly. Leave now." She chose the note. He chose to believe her. 2 months earlier, Lao Ming had walked into Jade Wing Aviation's private terminal at Teterboro Airport for the first time. Machen had been working there for 18 months, long enough to know the routine, short enough that truly wealthy clients still surprised her. Lao didn't surprise her with wealth. She'd served billionaires, celebrities, politicians. What surprised her was the way everyone in the terminal straightened when he walked past, how conversations stopped, staff fell silent, and the terminal manager himself had walked him through security. May was 26, black hair always pulled into a neat low bun, dark eyes trained to assess situations quickly, body language controlled from 4 years in the Air Force. She'd left military service 2 years ago for better pay in private aviation. Corporate flight attendants made good money, and her younger brother, Chen Jun, needed college tuition. Jade Wing Aviation was exclusive, 5 jets, ultra-wealthy clientele. Discretion was the primary commodity they sold, followed by luxury. On that first flight to Boston, May had been assigned to Lao Ming's Gulfstream. He'd boarded with 2 men, both large, both clearly security. Lao himself was tall, maybe 6'1", with dark hair swept back, a solid frame visible even under the expensive suit, and dark brown eyes that missed nothing. "Good morning, Mr. Lao," she said, voice professional. "Can I get you anything before departure?" "Espresso." "Black." His voice was low, Cantonese rounded by years in New York. She brought the espresso in the finest china Jade Wing provided. He thanked her politely. That was the extent of their interaction. During the flight, she noticed things: the way he read people, watching his associates and assessing them constantly, the scars on his knuckles when he removed his jacket, the way he never touched his phone during takeoff or landing, always staying aware of his surroundings. Her military training recognized something like that, situational awareness honed by years of danger. He'd flown with Jade Wing 3 more times over 2 months. Always the same crew, always the same jet, always professional, polite, generous with tips, never inappropriate, never demanding. May had served him each time, remembering his preferences without asking: espresso black, sparkling water with lime, the Wall Street Journal, not the Times. He'd noticed. She'd caught him watching her once or twice, something thoughtful in his expression, but they never spoke beyond service interactions. "Thank you." "You're welcome." That was all, until the morning everything changed. Friday, April 26th. May arrived at Teterboro at 7:30 for an 8:45 briefing. The flight manifest showed Lao Ming plus 2 passengers departing 10 a.m. from Miami, a standard 3-hour flight. She'd flown this route dozens of times. The morning briefing was routine. Captain Liang, mid-50s, experienced, with Jade Wing for 8 years, ran through weather, flight plan, passenger notes. Co-pilot Mo nodded along. Both men seemed normal, professional. "Mr. Lao is particular about privacy," Captain Liang said. "No unnecessary conversation, service only." May nodded. She already knew that. By 9:30 she'd completed her pre-flight check. The Gulfstream G650 was immaculate, leather seats pristine, galley fully stocked, cabin temperature perfect. She verified the catering: Italian mineral water, fresh espresso setup, the specific biscotti Lao preferred. Everything was ready. At 9:45 she went to confirm final details with the cockpit. The door was slightly open, not unusual during pre-flight. She raised her hand to knock. Then she heard it. Confirmed. "Lao is the target," Captain Liang's voice said, low and certain. May froze. "How's it going to work?" Mo asked. "Hydraulics were compromised last night," Liang replied. "System will fail roughly 35 minutes after takeoff over the Atlantic. Too far to turn back. Too far to reach land. We'll attempt an emergency landing, Make it look like we're trying to control it, then bail. Autopilot will keep it flying long enough for us to get clear. Plane goes down over water. Bodies never recovered. Cold steel ran through May's veins. Collateral damage can't be helped, Mo said quietly. She won't know anything that way. When do we get the other half? Liang asked. Once it's confirmed. Size people will verify the crash. Then we're done. May stepped back from the door, heart hammering. Her Air Force training kicked in, assess, decide, act fast. They were going to crash the plane. Kill Lao Ming. Kill her. Make it look like mechanical failure. She had maybe 15 minutes before boarding. Options raced through her mind: call the police, no proof, they'd think she was mistaken, refuse to work the flight, she'd be fired, blacklisted, Chen Jun's tuition gone, someone else would take the flight and die instead. Tell Lao, he might not believe her, but at least she'd have tried. Write a note. Discreet. Give him the choice. May moved quickly to the crew-ready room, found a cocktail napkin, pulled out a pen. Her hand shook, but her writing was clear: don't fly. Leave now. Trust me. She folded it carefully, tucked it into her uniform pocket, and walked back to the aircraft with her head high and her heart pounding. At 9:55 Lau arrived with his 2 men. May recognized Ho Pak, head of security, who traveled with Lau frequently. The other man was new, tall, serious, impeccably dressed. Good morning, Mr. Lau, her voice came out steady, professional, normal. Morning, May. He remembered her name. He always did. They boarded. Ho Pak took the seat nearest the door. The other man, Jian, she'd heard Ho call him, sat across from Lau. Lau settled into his usual seat, 3rd row aisle. The jet began taxiing at 9:58. May's window of opportunity was closing. Once they were in the air, it would be too late. The hydraulics would fail. They'd crash. She moved through the cabin with her usual pre-flight grace, offering beverages as if nothing was wrong. Lau requested his espresso. Her hands were steady as she prepared it, years of discipline keeping her movements calm, precise. She brought the cup on a small tray. The folded napkin was tucked beneath. Your espresso, Mr. Lau. He took the cup, saw the napkin. His eyes flicked to hers for half a second, a question there. She gave the smallest nod, turned, and walked back to the galley. Her heart felt like it might burst out of her chest. Lau set down the espresso, picked up the napkin casually, appearing to look out the window. He unfolded it. Read it. May watched from the galley. Saw him go very still. Saw the subtle shift in his posture. Ho noticed too. Boss? Lau stood. Change of plans. What? We're not flying. He was already moving toward the cockpit. Captain, I need to deplane. Now. Captain Liang appeared in the doorway, his face carefully neutral, but May saw the flicker of surprise in his eyes. Sir, we're about to take off, medical emergency. I need off this plane. Mr. Lau, if you could just, I said, turn around. Lau's voice stayed calm, but there was something in it, something that made Liang's face go pale. Now Liang had no choice. A passenger request to deplane, especially a passenger like Lao Ming, couldn't be refused. The jet turned and headed back toward the terminal. May's legs felt weak. He'd believed her. He'd actually believed her. The plane stopped at the gate. The door opened. Lao exited first, followed by Ho and Jian. May grabbed her crew bag and followed. Liang looked furious but said nothing. Mo looked panicked. Lao was waiting just outside the terminal doors. When May stepped out, he caught her arm gently. Walk with me. Not a request. She walked. He led her toward the parking area, away from the terminal. Ho and Jian flanked them, forming a quiet wall of security. When they were far enough away, Lao stopped and turned to face her. Explain. Now. May took a breath. I overheard the pilots. I was outside the cockpit. They didn't know I was there. They're planning to crash the plane. The hydraulics were sabotaged last night. The system will fail mid-flight. They have parachutes. They'll bail and let the plane go down. His eyes locked on hers, sharp, assessing. How do you know this? I heard them talking. Captain Leon said your name. Said you were the target. Someone named Sai is paying them. They get the second half after the crash is confirmed. Ho cursed softly in Cantonese. Jian's hand went to his jacket, weapon, Mei realized. Lao studied her face for a long moment. Why tell me? You could have just refused to board. They would have killed me. And probably found another attendant who didn't know. She hesitated. I couldn't. I don't know why. I just couldn't let it happen. He was silent for a beat. Then you just lost your job. I know. You saved my life. Maybe. If I'm right. You're right. His tone was pure certainty. He turned to Ho. Call Zhang. Get that jet grounded immediately. Report a mechanical failure to the FAA, anonymously. I want everything on Liang and Mo. Who paid them, how much, when? Ho was already on his phone, speaking rapid Cantonese. Lao looked back at Mei. You have somewhere safe to stay? My apartment. Astoria. Not anymore. Why? Because whoever paid those pilots knows you stopped this. You're not safe. Mei's stomach dropped. She hadn't thought that far ahead. I'll be fine. No. You won't. He turned to Jian. Take her to the Tribeca property. Guest suite. Full security, 24/7. I can't just, yes, you can. His tone left no room for argument. You saved my life and lost your job doing it. The least I can do is make sure you don't die for it. Let's go. He started toward a black SUV that seemed to appear from nowhere. Ho opened the door. Mei hesitated for only a moment before climbing in. What choice did she have? He was right, if they'd tried to kill Lao and she'd stopped it, she was a witness. A liability. The drive to Manhattan took 20 minutes. No one spoke. Lao made phone calls in Cantonese, rapid, controlled, with steel beneath every word. Ho drove. Jian kept his eyes on the mirrors. Mei sat back, trying to process what had just happened. For hours ago, she'd been preparing for a routine flight. Now she was in an SUV with a man who clearly wasn't just a businessman, heading to his secure property because people wanted her dead. The Tribeca building was sleek, a converted warehouse turned fortress. Doormen recognized Lao instantly. They took a private elevator to the top floor. The penthouse was everything Mei expected from a man like him: industrial elegance, exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, polished concrete floors, original Chinese art along the walls, minimalist furniture but expensive. The Hudson shimmered through the glass, Manhattan stretched out beneath it. Guest rooms down the hall, Lao said, shrugging off his jacket. Second door on the left. Bathrooms attached. Take what you need. Mei stood in the center of the living room, still in shock. How long do I need to stay? Until I know you're safe. A few days, maybe a week. Depends how fast we get information. She asked quietly. He looked at her, eyes cold, certain. You think I'm letting this go? Someone tried to kill me. And they were going to kill you as collateral. That doesn't sit well with me, Mei said quietly. What are you going to do? Find out who paid Captain Leon. Find out, Lao replied. And deal with them, permanently. He said it like he was discussing dinner plans. Calm. Factual. Deadly serious. Mei should have been disturbed. She'd only just met him, didn't really know who he was. But something in his tone, the way he'd instantly moved to protect her, made her feel safe. Which was insane, given the circumstances. Mei, he said gently, shower. Rest. I'll have someone bring your things from your apartment. Just give Ho your keys and address. You don't have to do that. I know I don't have to. I'm doing it anyway. He pulled out his phone. Are you hungry? Yes. Good. I'll order food. What do you like? 2 hours later, May had showered and changed into clothes that had been delivered, along with what appeared to be her entire closet. She sat at Lao's kitchen island, eating the best Chinese-Italian fusion meal she'd ever tasted. This is incredible, she said, taking another bite of noodles. Where's it from? I made it, Lao said simply. He sat across from her with his own plate. He'd changed too, dark jeans and a black Henley, far more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. You cook? She asked, surprised. He smiled faintly. I'm Hakka. My mother would disown me if I couldn't feed myself properly. He poured wine into her glass. So, Mei-chen. Tell me about yourself. She hesitated. What do you want to know? Why private aviation? You're military trained, I could tell from your posture, the way you assess a room. Air Force, she admitted. 4 years. Got out 2 years ago. Needed better pay. He nodded. Family? My brother, Chen Jun. He's 19. Studying engineering at NYU. Expensive school. Our parents died when he was 14. I've been supporting him since. Something softened in Lao's expression, respect. Maybe that's why you took the aviation job, he said. Better pay than commercial. Exactly. Jade Wing paid well. She sighed. Or, paid well. I guess I'm fired. Probably, he said matter-of-factly, but you won't need that job anymore. I need income, Lao. You'll work for me. May froze. What? I own several legitimate businesses. I could use someone with your training, security consulting, executive protection, operations. Whatever you prefer. She blinked. You're serious. He leaned back in his chair, eyes steady. You're observant. You think fast. You stayed calm under pressure. Those are skills I value. Lao, I appreciate the offer, but what? You think this is charity? She met his gaze, unsure what to say. I'm offering a job, he continued, because you're qualified. And because I need people I can trust. You saved my life today, that tells me all I need to know. You don't even know me. I know enough. 4 years of service. Supporting your brother through college. You work hard. You pay attention. You have integrity. You risked your job to save a stranger. He paused. What else should I know? May wanted to argue, but he wasn't wrong. Her brother's tuition was due soon. She had rent, bills, loans, and she'd just lost her income. What kind of work are we talking about? She asked cautiously. We'll figure it out, Lao said. For now, rest. Let me handle the immediate threat. Then we'll discuss details. His phone buzzed. He answered, voice switching to sharp Cantonese, tone low and cold. He paced toward the windows, the city lights reflecting off the glass. May caught a few words, Leon. Tsai. Miami. When he hung up, his expression was grim. They found something, she asked. He nodded. Leon broke under questioning. The FBI doesn't take assassination plots on aircraft lightly. He confessed, 300,000 split between him and MO paid by Victor Tsai. Tsai. Rival in Miami, Lao said, voice tightening. We've been competing for control of certain import routes. He saw a chance to remove me, make it look like an accident. He clenched his jaw. He was willing to kill you without a second thought. Collateral damage. The reality of how close she'd come hit May hard. If she hadn't overheard that conversation, if she hadn't slipped Lao the note, if he hadn't believed her, she would have been at 30,000 feet when the hydraulics failed. Her body would never have been found. Her brother would have lost everything. Hey. Lau's voice was softer now. He was standing beside her, one hand resting lightly on her shoulder. You're safe. I won't let anything happen to you. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. It wasn't arrogance, it was certainty. You're under my protection now. That means something. May looked up at him, really looked. The dark eyes, the scar near his jawline, the calm strength beneath the surface. A man who had seen violence but still carried gentleness in his touch. She should have been scared. She should have been planning her exit. But instead, she felt safe, completely, irrationally safe. Thank you, she said softly. For believing me. For protecting me. You saved my life first, he replied. This is the least I can do. That night, May lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. The bed was softer than anything she'd ever slept on. The room was larger than her entire apartment. Everything was perfect, and yet all she could think about was Lau Ming. The way he'd believed her without hesitation. The way he'd moved to protect her. The way his presence made her feel secure despite everything. She barely knew him. But lying there in his penthouse, under his protection, she felt like she knew everything that mattered. The next morning, the smell of coffee and something baking drew her from bed. She found Lau in the kitchen, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, pulling golden pastries from the oven. You bake too? She asked, leaning against the doorway. He looked up and smiled slightly. Spaglia, my mother's recipe. It smells amazing. Sit. Coffee's ready. They fell into an easy rhythm. He poured her coffee, black, just how she liked it, and plated the pastries. They ate in quiet comfort for a while, the morning sunlight washing over the kitchen, both of them pretending, for a moment, that their world wasn't built on secrets and danger. Liang and Mo are in federal custody, Lau said. They'll be charged with attempted murder, conspiracy, and sabotage. They're going away for a long time. And Victor Tsai? May asked. Lau's expression darkened. That's more complicated. He's in Miami, out of immediate reach. But he made a mistake coming after me like this. I'll handle it. What does that mean? It means Tsai just started a war he's going to lose. He sipped his espresso, calm as ever. But that's my problem, not yours. You're safe here. Ho's downstairs with a full security team. No one gets near you. May studied him. Why does this matter so much to you, protecting me? Most people would have just, I don't know, put me in a hotel, paid me off, and moved on. Lau was silent for a long moment. Then he said quietly, when I was 16, my younger sister, Lynn, was kidnapped by a rival crew. They wanted to send my father a message. He ran his territory through fear and violence. Made a lot of enemies. His voice stayed controlled, but there was pain beneath every word. We got her back, he said. But not in time. She died 2 days later from her injuries. She was 12. May's chest tightened. Lau. I'm so sorry. That's why I have rules, he continued. Why I protect the people who work for me. Why I don't let civilians get hurt because of this life. Lynn was innocent. She died because of my father's choices. He looked at May, eyes sharp but weighted with memory. You were going to die because Tsai wanted me dead. Collateral damage. That's not acceptable. Not then. Not now. Not ever. Now she understood. This wasn't just about gratitude. It was personal, a code written in blood and guilt, one he lived by because he'd seen what happened when there was none. I'm sorry about your sister, May said softly. So am I, he replied, clearing the dishes. But I learned from it. I run my family differently than my father did, respect over fear, protection for the people who deserve it, and lines I don't cross. No drugs. No human trafficking. No hurting women or children. And no civilians who aren't part of the life. He turned to her. I'm not a good man, May. I've done things I can't undo. But I try to live by rules that matter. Are you warning me off? She asked quietly. I'm giving you the truth, he said. So you can decide if you want to stay. May thought about it. About Jun, who needed her to be smart. About her instincts, which told her trusting a Triad boss was insane. And yet, Lao Ming had shown more honor than most men she'd ever met. I'm staying, she said finally. Something, maybe relief, flickered across his face. Good. The next week fell into a strange rhythm. May stayed in the penthouse, Lao came and went. Business, he'd say, never elaborating. Sometimes he was gone for hours, sometimes he worked behind closed doors, voice carrying through the walls in rapid Cantonese. Ho was a constant presence, head of security and something like Lao's right hand. He was polite, protective without being overbearing. After a few days, they developed an easy rapport. How long have you worked for him? May asked one afternoon while Lao was out. 20 years, Ho said, leaning against the counter. Since we were kids. His father was difficult. Lao and I grew up in the same neighborhood. When he took over after his father died, he asked me to run security. Been with him ever since. You trust him with your life? Without question, Ho said. He's fair. Loyal. Has lines he won't cross. That's rare in our world. He studied her. He likes you, you know. May blinked. We barely know each other. Doesn't matter. I've known him 20 years. I can read him. He likes you. May didn't know what to do with that. She changed the subject, but Ho's words stuck in her mind, especially later that evening, when Lao came home looking exhausted and immediately relaxed when he saw her in the kitchen. You're cooking? He asked, sounding almost amused. Trying to, she said with a small smile. I'm not as good as you, but I can manage pasta. You don't have to. I want to. He smiled, really smiled, and it transformed him. Made him look almost boyish. Okay, he said. Thank you. They cooked together, she handled the noodles, he made the sauce from scratch. Their movements synced naturally, passing ingredients, brushing shoulders, flowing around each other like they'd done it 100 times. It felt domestic. Comfortable. Dangerous. Over dinner, they talked, not about the Triad or Tsai, but about normal things, books, movies, places they wanted to travel. May told him about Jun, about their parents' car accident, about how she'd raised her brother alone. Lao told her about Guangzhou, about his grandmother who'd raised him after his mother left. She taught me everything, he said, pouring her more wine. How to cook, how to treat people with respect, how to be strong without being cruel. My father hated that she had so much influence over me. But she was the only light in my childhood. Is she still alive? May asked. He shook his head. No. Died 5 years ago. But I think about her every day. He looked at May. She would have liked you. Why? Because you're strong. Resilient. You didn't break when your life fell apart, you fought. That would have mattered to her. May's throat tightened. Thank you, she whispered. It's the truth. The air between them shifted, charged. May was suddenly aware of how close they were, how his eyes lingered on hers, how her pulse picked up. Lao stood abruptly. I should check in with Ho. Make sure everything's secure for the night. He left before she could reply. May sat there in the quiet kitchen, wondering what the hell had just happened. 2 weeks after the plane incident, everything changed again. Lao came home at 3 in the morning. May heard him moving through the penthouse, heavy steps, uncharacteristically loud. She got up and found him in the kitchen, pouring whiskey. What happened? He looked at her. His knuckles were bruised. There was blood on his shirt. Tsai sent people, he said quietly. They tried to get past Ho's team downstairs. They were after you. May's blood ran cold. Are you hurt? Not my blood. Lao downed the whiskey in one motion, the muscles in his jaw tight. They're dealt with. But Sai knows where you are now. He's getting desperate, which makes him more dangerous. What do we do? I'm going to Miami, Lao said, setting the glass down with finality. Ending this permanently. But first, I need to make sure you're protected. I'm moving you to a different location, more secure, until this is over. Where? Safe house upstate. Remote, heavily guarded. No one will find you there. May knew she should be scared, should be demanding to go into protective custody, call the FBI, something official. But she trusted Lao's security more than she trusted the system, which said a lot about how much her perspective had changed in just 2 weeks. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. Early. Ho will drive you. Jian will stay with you at the house. Full team, perimeter guards, encrypted comms. He moved closer, his tone softening. I'm sorry. This wasn't supposed to touch you. Sai's making it personal because I won't back down on Miami territory. It's not your fault, May said quietly. It is, he replied. You're in danger because you saved me. That makes it my responsibility. His hand came up, almost brushed her cheek, then dropped. I'll fix this. I promise. The safe house was exactly what he described, 2 hours north of the city, surrounded by forest, fitted with top-grade security, and guarded by 4 men who were polite but clearly lethal. Jian stayed close, professional but kind, ensuring she had everything she needed. May spent 3 days there reading, pacing, trying not to worry about Lao, who was in Miami dealing with Victor Tsai. On the 4th day, she woke to her phone ringing. Lao's number. It's done, he said without preamble. Tsai won't be a problem anymore. What does that mean? It means he's leaving Miami. Retiring. We had a conversation. He understands now that coming after you, after me, was a mistake. You're safe. May didn't ask for details. She didn't want to know what kind of conversation Lao had. When can I come back? Jian's bringing you home today. I'll see you tonight. Home. He'd said it like she belonged there. That evening, May walked into the Tribeca penthouse to find Lao in the kitchen, moving easily, stirring something on the stove. He looked up when she entered. You're safe, he said simply. She moved toward him without thinking. I'm safe, she echoed. He set the spoon down. Tsai agreed to terms. He's out of Miami. Won't come near New York. Won't come near you. It's over. Just like that? Not that simple, he said, a faint edge in his voice, but yes. It's done. May should have kept her distance, should have thanked him formally, reminded herself this man was technically her employer and nothing more. Instead, she stepped forward and hugged him. Lao froze for a heartbeat, then his arms came around her, pulling her close. He was warm, solid, smelled faintly of cedar and smoke and something uniquely his. She felt his heart beating against hers, faster than normal. Thank you, she said against his chest. For protecting me. For fixing this. For everything. His voice came low and rough. I told you, you're under my protection. That's not temporary. She pulled back just enough to look at his face and found his eyes already on hers, dark, intense, unreadable. Lao, I should check the sauce, he said abruptly, stepping away. It'll burn if I don't stir it. Coward, she thought, but didn't say it out loud. Over dinner, things were almost normal. Almost. Except for the way he kept watching her, the way her skin prickled every time their hands brushed, the way the air felt heavy with things neither of them said. After they cleaned up, Lao poured 2 glasses of wine. I want to show you something tomorrow, he said. If you're free. I'm living in your penthouse under your protection, she said with a wry smile. I think I'm free. He smiled slightly. Tomorrow then. We're something comfortable. The next day, Lao drove her to Red Hook, to a building she recognized from her late-night research, the restaurant he owned. She'd looked him up after the plane incident and found a string of legitimate businesses tied to his name. This one was called Ming's Table. "I thought you might like to see where some of my real work happens," he said, leading her inside. The legal side. The restaurant was beautiful, an industrial space restored with care, exposed brick, dark wood, soft golden light, and a sleek open kitchen that was already buzzing with prep for the dinner service. "This is amazing," May said, watching the chefs move. "How many restaurants do you own?" "4 in New York, 2 in Boston, 1 in Miami, though I'm selling that one now that I'm out of the city." He guided her to a table tucked away in a quiet corner. "But this one was my first. I bought it 15 years ago, when I was 24. My grandmother's recipes, my vision. It was supposed to be a legitimate side business while I handled other things. But then I fell in love with it. The cooking. The hospitality. Creating something people could enjoy." He poured her wine, a red that probably cost more than her old monthly rent. "Turns out I'm better at running restaurants than running criminal operations." "Who knew?" May laughed softly. "So why not just do this? Leave the other stuff behind?" "Because I can't. Not completely. I have responsibilities. People who depend on me. Territories that need managing. Legitimate businesses that need protection from the ones that aren't." He met her eyes. "I've cleaned up most of what I can. The restaurants are real. The real estate holdings are legal. But I can't walk away from everything. Not without consequences." "I understand," May said quietly. "Do you?" He leaned forward, his gaze locked on hers. "Because I need you to understand what you're getting into if you stay. I'm not just a businessman. I have enemies. People who'd hurt you to get to me. The life I live isn't safe. It isn't normal." "I know," she said. "And you're still here?" "I'm still here." He studied her face like he was memorizing it. Then he stood, silent for a long moment, something unspoken between them. "Come on," Lau said, extending his hand. "I want to show you the rooftop." The rooftop had been transformed into a hidden terrace above Red Hook, a quiet refuge few would ever expect. Rows of potted herbs lined the edges, soft string lights swayed overhead, and a small table with 2 chairs sat near the railing. From there, the Manhattan skyline glowed across the dark water, a constellation of light against the night. "This is where I come when I need to think," he said. "Hardly anyone knows about it." "Why show me?" May asked, her voice hushed by the stillness of the evening. "Because I wanted you to see something that's just mine," he said. "Not the penthouse. Not the restaurants. Not the businesses. This." He gestured around them. "This is my space." May turned toward him. "That means something." "Yes." He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "It means I trust you. It means I want you in my life. Not just as someone I'm protecting. Not as an employee." He paused, the words catching slightly. "I'm not good at this, saying what I feel. My world doesn't leave much room for vulnerability." "Try anyway," she whispered. He was close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating off him, see the faint gold flecks in his dark eyes, the tension in his jaw, the careful restraint he always wore like armor. "I haven't stopped thinking about you since the day you handed me that note," he said quietly. "You were brave. Smart. Selfless. You risked everything for a stranger. And then you stayed. Even after seeing my world, even after knowing what I am, you stayed." "Because I wanted to," she said softly. "Why?" "Because I haven't stopped thinking about you either." She drew a breath. "Because you're the most honorable man I've ever met, despite everything. Because you make me feel safe. Because when you look at me," she trailed off. "I feel." Lau kissed her. Finally. After weeks of tension, after lingering touches and glances that said too much. His hands came up to cradle her face, strong but gentle, and his lips pressed against hers with a steady, controlled hunger that made her knees go weak. May's hands found his chest, the solid strength beneath soft fabric, the thudding heartbeat that matched her own. When they broke apart, both were breathless. Lau rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," he admitted. "Why didn't you?" "Because I wanted to be sure you wanted it too. That it wasn't just gratitude or confusion." "It's not," she said, eyes locked on his. "It's real. Whatever this is, it's real." "Good." He kissed her again, deeper this time, with all the patience he'd been denying himself. His hands slid into her hair, pulling her closer. She made a soft sound, half relief, half desire. They stayed on the rooftop long after the sun sank, kissing between words, laughing softly, learning the rhythm of each other. It was perfect. And it was only the beginning. Over the next 3 months, May and Lau built a life that neither had expected. She officially moved into the Tribeca penthouse, taking a position at his security consulting firm. Her military background made her invaluable, her instincts even more so. Chenjun met Lau in July. He'd been skeptical at first, but after an evening where Lau spent 2 hours discussing engineering principles and even helped refine one of Chenjun's project designs, her brother grudgingly approved. "He's good for you," Chenjun said afterward. "You're happy." "I can tell." She was. More than she ever thought possible. Lau introduced her carefully to his world, showed her the legitimate side of his empire, kept her distant from the darker parts, but he never lied about what he did. "I need you to understand what my life involves," he told her one humid night in August. "The restaurants and real estate are real, but I still manage operations. I still handle conflicts. I still do things that aren't legal or safe or clean." "I know," May said. "And you're okay with that?" "I'm okay with you." She touched his face. "I don't love you despite what you do. I love you, including what you do. Because it's part of who you are." He went still, her words cutting straight through his defenses. "Say that again." "I love you, Lau." His breath caught. "I love you too. Have for weeks. I was just waiting for the right moment to say it." "This is the right moment," she whispered. That night, they made love for the first time. It was slow, reverent, and consuming, 2 lives that shouldn't have crossed, finding balance in the same heartbeat. Afterward, lying in his arms, May traced the scar along his jaw and thought about that day at Teterboro. "What are you thinking?" Lau murmured. "That day on the plane," she said. "When I gave you the note. It changed everything. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't overheard them?" "Every day," he said quietly. "I'd be dead. You'd be dead. We'd never have had this. So I'm grateful for your instincts, your courage, for you." "Me too." In September, Lau took her to meet his family, not his associates, but his real family. His mother, who lived in Carroll Gardens, his uncles, aunts, cousins, all loud, warm, curious, and full of questions in rapid Cantonese and English. His mother, Madame Lau, pulled May aside after dinner. "My son is different with you," she said in accented English. "Softer. Happier. He lost that after Lynn died. After his father. I thought it was gone for good. Thank you for bringing it back." "He did that himself," May said quietly. "No," Madame Lau replied, squeezing her hand. "You did. Keep him good. That's all I ask." "I will." In October, Lau proposed. They were back on the rooftop of Ming's table, their rooftop, their refuge. He'd closed the restaurant, cooked dinner himself, lit candles beneath the string lights. The city glimmered in the distance like a promise. "Mei Chen," he said, taking her hand. "6 months ago, you walked into my life with a note that said, 'Don't fly.' You saved my life. And then you stayed. You saw who I really was, the good, the dark, and everything between, and you stayed anyway." Lau reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. When he opened it, the light caught on the emerald-cut diamond inside, simple and breathtaking in its platinum setting. "I'm not an easy man," he said, his voice low, steady. "My life is complicated. I can't promise safe, or normal, or simple. But I can promise loyal, protective, devoted. I can promise that you'll always be the most important person in my world." Then, without hesitation, he went down on one knee. "Will you marry me, May? Will you be my wife? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret trusting me?" May's vision blurred with tears. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Of course yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, stood, and pulled her into his arms, kissing her like she was the only air he needed. "No way any I," he murmured against her lips. "I love you." "I love you too," she breathed. They set a date for spring. May wanted her brother there, wanted time to plan properly, to make it perfect. Lau agreed to everything she wanted without a single argument. "Whatever makes you happy," he said. "That's all I care about." The wedding took place in April, almost exactly 1 year after the morning she'd written that note on the plane. The ceremony was small, family only, held in the same Chinatown temple where Lau's grandparents had been married decades earlier. Red lanterns glowed softly above them, gold silk ribbons hung from the altar, and incense curled gently through the air. May wore a simple white Cheongsam-style gown, Lau, a sharp black tux that made every eye turn when he entered. Chen Jun walked her down the aisle, trying and failing not to cry. Madame Lau wept openly in the front row. Ho stood as best man, proud and steady beside his friend. When the priest said, "You may kiss your bride," Lau cupped May's face and kissed her like the rest of the world had vanished. The temple erupted in applause. Their reception was held on the rooftop of Ming's table, the same rooftop where he'd first kissed her, the same one where he'd proposed. Lanterns floated overhead. Music drifted on the breeze. "Hello, wife," Lau said, pulling her close as they swayed together under the lights. "Hello, husband," she smiled. "Any regrets?" She thought about that morning at Teterboro, the overheard voices, the napkin, the impossible choice. About everything that followed, the danger, the fear, the chaos. And then about everything else, the love, the laughter, the life they'd built together. "Not a single one," she said. "You?" "Just one." He kissed her forehead. "I wish I'd met you sooner. Had more time with you. But I'll take every moment I get from here on out." "Forever, then," she whispered. "Forever," he said. Years later, when people asked how they'd met, Lau would smile and say, "She saved my life." And May would add with a grin, "I just wrote him a note that said, 'Don't fly.'" He listened. Best decision either of them ever made. Because it was true, a napkin with 3 words had changed everything. It had led to this: partnership, love, family, peace. Some love stories start with flowers and poetry. Theirs began with a warning and a choice. But it became something beautiful anyway, and neither of them would have changed a single thing.